Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to DreamWorks Switch to Life. And in today's video, we're going to be reviewing The Penguins of Madagascar. No, not the TV show, the actual movie. And the reason that we're doing this is because today marks the 10-year anniversary that the film was released in theaters. And I'm just gonna say it, this movie was really awesome. Not so much for its emotional story, but there are plenty of emotions in here. More so for its comedy. It's mostly circumstantial, but honestly, it's just super funny to see the penguins going commando. And honestly, there's a lot of funny jokes in this movie. It's really cool. And, well, let's talk about the rest of the movie. What you may not know is that back in 2008, there was a TV show called The Penguins of Madagascar. And for some reason, DreamWorks decided, you know what, we should make a Penguins of Madagascar direct-to-DVD movie. And so that was kind of where this movie started. This was supposed to be a direct-to-DVD spin-off, just like the Disney direct-to-DVD sequels. Luckily, I guess they found the script of the original film to be so good that DreamWorks decided to give it an actual theatrical release, which is really great. And they even gave it a theatrical budget. In fact, I would say that this probably has the best animation out of the entire Madagascar franchise, if it weren't for Madagascar 3. On that, it kind of matches with it. Some say it's even slightly below. As for the voice acting, it's actually really great. Granted, if this was a direct-to-DVD sequel, they probably would have gotten the TV show actors for the Penguins, but since this was given a theatrical budget, they were given the film voice actors, which I found to be really great. However, there is one voice actor that I really want to point out. That's Benedict Cumberbatch as classified. And I just gotta say that Benedict Cumberbatch is funny, and he's a pretty great voice actor. Not because he's actually doing a good job, but because he isn't doing a good job. You see, the thing is that a long time ago, Benedict Cumberbatch was doing a National Geographic documentary, and unfortunately, he just could not for the life of him say the word penguins. In fact, he kept saying penguins or penguins or something like that. And now the word penguins actually scares him. So this was kind of his chance at redemption. Did he do a good job?
Well, I suppose we can't all be penguins, can we?
No, he still keeps mispronouncing penguins, and that's really funny. But of course, he's also good in the movie because he has a really nice voice that he gives to Classified. As for the music, it was actually kind of enjoyable. It's mostly spy thriller music, which makes sense, these are the penguins. As for the action scenes, I definitely enjoyed them. The penguins get really creative with how they pull off heists, and they're really funny with the ways they do it too. But anyway, let's talk about the story. So, it begins 10 years ago when Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico are just waddling along alongside the penguins, but then they discover that an egg is rolling along and they decide to go chasing after it because none of the other penguins are doing it. So they chase it to an old abandoned ship where they fight against a bunch of leopard seals and rescue the egg. And then the egg hatches and becomes private.
Hello, are you my family?
You don't have a family and we're all going to die. Sorry.
What?
Unfortunately, with no way to get back to Antarctica, the four of them decide to just have glorious adventures by going to the mainland. And somehow they end up in the New York Central Park Zoo, and that's how we have the Madagascar movies. Well, 10 years later, and now they're in the circus, and apparently they're getting tired of being in the circus because of the annoying song, I Like to Move It Afro Circus. But anyway, to celebrate Private's birthday, they decide to break into Fort Knox. And they even got Private a birthday present.
Private, if you could have anything you wanted in the whole wide world, what would it be?
Well, gee, Skipper, I think to be a meaningful and valued member of this team.
Oh, well, we got you something else. The last remaining home in America's nanny state for those succulent but chemically hazardous bits of puffed heaven cold.
Oh, cheesy dibbles.
And I really like how the cheesy dibbles show up throughout the entire movie. Anyway, the vending machine decides to kidnap the penguins, and so a helicopter picks up the vending machine, and then they are flown all the way to Italy, where they are put inside of a submarine. And it's there that they discover the movie's main antagonist, Dr. Octavius Brine, which is a really creative name, but unfortunately, that's not his real name. It turns out that his real name is actually...
Dave!
Kowalski.
Sorry, sir, no clue.
Go ahead, Dan, continue.
You seriously don't remember me?
And you know what I think the best part about his character is? It's that he has an army of henchmen who are given simple names, but somehow he always manages to turn them into celebrity puns.
Nicholas, cage them. Charlize, they're on the rag. Hallie, bury them. Hugh, Jack, man the battle stations. Elijah, would you please take them away? Helen, hunt them down. William, hurt them. Kevin, bake on. We're still gonna need that victory cake.
So anyway, his backstory is that he used to be a star attraction at the New York Central Park Zoo. Unfortunately, when the baby penguin showed up, he was kicked out of his home, and thus he was sent to a new zoo where he was kicked out from there because of penguins, and then another one where he was kicked out from penguins, and another where he was kicked out from penguins. And it kept continuing and continuing until eventually he realized that he was destined to be alone while penguins were born to get all the love and attention. So he has a very sympathetic backstory, and it really adds to his evil plan, which is actually pretty good. Turns out he's going to use a chemical that he made called the Medusa serum to turn the penguins into monsters. Unfortunately, the Penguins of Madagascar manage to escape him, and then they're chased across Venice, Italy, until eventually they're rescued by the North Wind, who have been watching this submarine for quite some time. Seriously, if you watch the penguin chase sequence, you'll see the North Wind characters in the background.
The North Wind is an elite undercover interspecies task force dedicated to helping animals who can't help themselves. Like penguins.
And they happen to be very reliant on spy technology. In fact, they even fly around in a $19 million plane.
The seal is short fuse, weapons and explosives. The bear is corporal, he's our muscle. And the owl is Eva, intelligence and analysis. No, my name isn't classified. My name is classified because I am the leader of this strike team.
So the North Wind brings the penguins to interrogate them at their home base in the Arctic, and that's when the penguins reveal that they stole Dave's Medusa serum, so he can't use it for his evil plan. Except that's when Dave calls, and it's revealed that he has tons of Medusa serum, because he's not trying to just get revenge on the 4 penguins who kicked him out of New York, he's trying to get revenge on all penguins in the entire world. Or at least all penguins in all the zoos. So both spy teams try to participate in the mission, but the penguins keep interfering with the North Wind, so the North Wind tranquilizes the penguins and ships them off to Madagascar so that they will be safe. But the penguins aren't exactly happy about being kicked off the mission, so they break out of the box and out of the airplane that they're being shipped on, and eventually they manage to find their way to Shanghai, China. And unfortunately, Dave is kidnapping penguins all over the world, but luckily, Shanghai happens to be the last place on his kidnapping list. So the penguins manage to lay a trap, but it goes wrong, and in the end, Private is sadly kidnapped alongside the Shanghai mermaid penguins. And despite the penguins' best efforts, especially because they take and destroy the $19 million North Wind jet, they unfortunately end up stranded at sea right up alongside the North Wind. And luckily, the North Wind happened to place tracking devices inside of the penguins, so they're using Private's tracker to track down where Dave's hideout is. And so the two teams have a plan off where they discuss how they want to go about rescuing Private and stopping Dave. And luckily, Skipper's plan is to just go in there, pummel some guards, kill Dave, and then feast on his remains while they rescue Private. Luckily, the North Wind have an even better better plan, which involves a lot more planning and also some really cool tech and CGI graphics, not to mention holograms and whatnot, and oh boy, there's a lot of planning in this plan. And unfortunately, the Penguins aren't exactly happy about that plan, but after some convincing from Classified, who knows exactly what buttons he's pushing with Skipper, he decides to relent and the North Wind's plan is offered, and the Penguins become a distraction to their plan. Unfortunately, even though the North Wind's plan goes off with mostly no problems, they're captured. But unfortunately, the Penguins don't know that, so they launch some fireworks right as there's supposed to be a giant explosion, and unfortunately, there's no explosion. The North Wind failed in their mission, and the Penguins gave away their location, so they too are captured. At this point, Dave is trying out live testing, and he decides to test it out on Private because he just happens to be the cutest of all the penguins in the entire world. And so he amps up the pressure, he shoots Private with the Medusa serum so that he can turn Private into a monster, but unfortunately, Private ends up disintegrated. Yep, Private died. Or so it looks like anyway, because Private managed to escape at the last possible second. And I really enjoy how he managed to escape. Earlier in the film, Rico manages to break them out of a cage using a paperclip, but he discarded the paperclip and Private picked it up and swallowed it himself. And so Private used said paperclip to destroy the locks holding him to the table, and he uses it to escape and fake his death. So Private sneaks around and rescues the North Wind just before they are turned into octopus food, and so the North Wind decide to retreat so that they can grab more gear and then come back stronger. Unfortunately, that's not really what Private thinks they should do. They should go and rescue the Penguins now before they're turned into monsters. So unfortunately, the North Wind leave and Private is left alone to rescue the Penguins. Unfortunately, he does not do a good job. All of the Penguins, including his commando brothers, are turned into monsters. So Dave disguises himself as Dr. Octavius Brine, and he unleashes the monster penguins on New York City. Finally, the Penguins are getting what they deserve. They are getting no love whatsoever, only hate, and they're even being hunted by pest control. Luckily, Private manages to find Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico and snap them out of their deranged monster state, at which point he uses the Medusa serum machine and he inserts himself as the battery, and while the machine works and he manages to turn a monster penguin into a normal penguin, there's a side effect due to the radiation that gives him a butt hand. But unfortunately, he decides not to back down, so the Penguins gather a bunch of snow globes, which they then use to strap to the pointer at the end of the Medusa serum ray. And the reason that they do that is so that the light will be deflected through the snow globes so that they can shoot all of the penguins all at once and turn them back from monsters to normal penguins. When Dave discovers this, he tries to put a stop to them, and the 5 of them get into a final fight, and it's at that point that the North Wind show up in a minivan, proving that they realize they don't need their fancy gadgets, only to be defeated after like 5 seconds. So once Rico manages to get some batteries for the Medusa serum remote, the Penguins manage to use the ray to turn everybody back into normal, non-monster penguins. How they managed to get the ray to shoot inside of all of the pest control cars, I have no idea. But due to the radiation, a chrysalis forms around Private, and so when Corporal breaks the machine and gets Private out, the chrysalis hatches, like at the start of the movie, and turns into a mutated Private with antler moose horns who's pink. Oh, and also, Dave is accidentally caught in the crossfire, and he's turned into a cute little baby who's trapped in a snow globe. And he's given a chance at finally feeling love when he's given to a little girl. Unfortunately, that little girl loves to shake snow globes. And so the film ends with the North Wind giving their respects to the Penguin team for not relying on super gadgets and also being the ones to save penguin kind, especially Private, who is hailed as a hero for his sacrifice. And, well, the film ends with the North Wind giving the gang jetpacks. Luckily, there's also a mid-credit scene where they use more as a battery pack in the Medusa ray to turn Private back into his normal penguin self. And, also Mort eats King Julian. I would say that's the weirdest thing that I've seen Mort do, but then the All Hail King Julian TV show came out and it's nowhere near close. So anyway, I felt like this movie was kind of a bit of a refreshing take, cause by the time you got to Madagascar 3, there were just so many Madagascar characters that it's hard to give them all their own emotional depth. And in this movie, it's focusing on just the 4 penguins. Oh, and also the North Wind and Dave. But aside from those guys, there's not really that much preventing us from getting to know the penguins on a personal level. Now we can actually tell the penguins apart. Skipper's the leader, Kowalski's the brains, who also happens to have a major crush on a lot of pretty girls. Rico is the non-verbal demolition expert, and Private happens to be the cute and lovable mascot slash secretary, who's also the most important and valued member of the team. So, despite the fact that this film is mostly action and humor, there's some emotional sequences in this movie, especially when it comes to Skipper and Private's relationship. I really enjoyed watching that unfold, but unfortunately, that's not much. So, the film is good, and it definitely stands apart from the rest of the Madagascar franchise, because one thing, it doesn't even have the Madagascar characters in it, and it doesn't really have a lot of emotion. It's mostly just action sequences and circumstantial humor, which I really enjoyed. And it also had a really great villain in Dave the Octopus, or should I say Dr. Octavius Brine. Unfortunately, this movie is vastly different from the main Madagascar trilogy that it's actually kind of hard to compare them. In fact, I'm gonna say it, but I think this might be my 3rd favorite out of the Madagascar movies. But where does it fall for you guys? Make sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comment section, and you can support me through my membership tab by going to my channel page or clicking the join button down below, or you can just do the free option and subscribe. And if you are subscribed, be sure to keep an eye out for my Penguins of Madagascar TV show review, which will be coming out later next month. But with that in mind, I hope that you're staying safe out there, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye bye.
Oh no, we're dead!